Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. This week's topic, what do people expect of a pastor, arises from two things that have happened here at Redeemer in just the past few days. Many of you know that yesterday we celebrated the ordination of Amanda Burke, who comes to serve as Redeemer's associate pastor. We've gone through some transition with her over the past couple of years, with her being called Amanda for a year, then Vicar Amanda for a year, and then for a few months back to Amanda, and now she is Pastor Amanda. So it seems to me that here in the immediate aftermath of her becoming a pastor, that it might be good to talk about what people expect of a pastor. The second thing happened about a week ago, just a few days after our congregation extended her a call, and she had accepted it. My Thursday Bible study was focused on a passage in Numbers about Aaron being set apart as a priest, and I thought a good discussion question might be, what makes a good pastor? I guess I thought that most people had given that some thought, and at least knew what they liked and didn't like in a pastor. But when I asked that question, what I got back mostly was silent stares. Now maybe they were thinking deep thoughts and trying to formulate an answer, or maybe they didn't want to answer with things I'm not good at while I was in the room. I don't know. But once again, it led me to the question of, what do people expect of a pastor? I ask this question because in my Bible study we are looking at miracles of the Old Testament. And a week ago we had come to a miracle that most of us aren't very familiar with. It's found in Numbers 17, and it happens while God's people were still wandering in the wilderness on their way from Egypt to the Promised Land. You might be aware that over and over on this journey the people complained about Moses. They really wanted to complain about God, but Moses was handy and served as the scapegoat. By this time in Numbers, they were so fed up that they focused their grumbling on Aaron. Aaron was Moses' brother, and while all those in the tribe of Levi had important roles in leading worship, Aaron had been set apart in some special ways, and the other Levites thought that that was unfair. Why is he so special? Why not us too? They asked. In the end, each tribe brought a staff, and Aaron added his staff, and they placed all 12 in front of the Ark of the Covenant. In the morning, all of them were the same, but Aaron's staff had bloomed into flower and even given rise to ripe almonds. Moses told them that this was God's sign that Aaron was indeed to have special place as a representative of the people before God. He was indeed set apart by God's call to serve God and the people. We believe in the priesthood of all believers, that all believers can approach God directly and are called to serve God and others, but some are set apart for special service this way. In today's world, we call them pastors. The word pastor comes from the images of a shepherd and sheep. The shepherd tends to the flock, sometimes leading, sometimes driving, sometimes protecting, sometimes guarding, sometimes tenderly caring and soothing. Pastors do that same thing with the flock of God. It's hard to evaluate pastors. How do you measure success? There are many things pastors do that are difficult to measure or don't fit on job evaluation forms. I remember a few years ago the council was seeking a year-end self-evaluation for me, and I thought for a long time about how we might do that. Finally, I turned to the ordination service and wrote the self-evaluation based on the questions that are asked of the candidate for ordination. These questions reflect what is expected of a pastor, and perhaps the only true way to evaluate is to ask, am I being faithful to who I have been called to be? So, as we look at what do people expect of a pastor, and because we just ordained Amanda, I'm going to focus on those questions this week, along with some Bible passages used in the service that are called the charges. These passages charge us with the challenge of pastoring. It's a big task, and we can't do it alone. In the ordination, the answer to each question is, I will, and I ask God to help me. You can bet that's what all of us, pastor and people alike, need. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.